when a farmer named Raphael stumbled upon a collection of ebony-colored eggs scattered across his property, he was immediately filled with curiosity about which creature might have deposited them. Determined to unravel the mystery, he began a meticulous observation of the eggs. When they eventually hatched, his astonishment was so overwhelming that tears streamed down his face. Raphael had long dreamed of running a thriving egg business on his family farm, a picturesque estate nestled in a verdant valley of Georgia, passed down through generations. In recent years, however, the farm had struggled. What once flourished was now barely scraping by due to soaring feed prices, intensified competition, and a dwindling market for his standard brown and white eggs. Thus, when he unexpectedly discovered a dozen peculiar black eggs scattered about, Raphael was stunned into stillness for nearly 10 minutes. He had never seen or even heard of eggs like these before. None of his hens had ever produced anything remotely similar. For a brief moment, he even entertained the thought that they might be snake eggs and scanned the tall grass with caution, searching for any slithering reptile. Yet it appeared that whatever creature had laid them had long since moved on, leaving the eggs behind. Torn between fear and hope, Raphael contemplated the possibilities. On one side, these mysterious eggs might signal the presence of dangerous animals he would later have to contend with. On the other, they might represent the exact innovation his farm desperately needed. Perhaps, he mused, people would pay a premium for such unique eggs to add a twist to their morning omelets, or even for the meat of chickens hatched from them, especially during festive times like Halloween. Although he wasn't inclined to steal, Raphael reasoned that since the eggs were legally on his land, he could secure them before anyone else discovered their potential. With a murmured apology to the unknown creature responsible, he carefully loaded the eggs into his truck, planning to place them in his farm's incubator and wait for their secret to be revealed. Over the ensuing days, Raphael monitored the eggs with exacting care, adjusting the incubator's temperature and humidity to replicate the nurturing warmth of a brooding hen. Each morning, he would inspect the eggs, his spirits lifting at the sight of the smooth, dark shells intact. His imagination ran wild as he pondered the nature of the beings that would soon emerge. Would they be as uniformly black as the eggs themselves? In quiet moments, he even pictured a swarm of eager buyers flocking to his farm, ready to pay top dollar for a glimpse of entirely black chickens. Despite the bubbling excitement, caution tempered his hopes. He was well aware that the hatching process might yet prove long and uncertain. Weeks drifted by as Raphael anxiously awaited the day the eggs would crack open. The predicted hatching day came and went without a hint of life. Each day, he peered into the incubator, desperately wishing to spot even the tiniest crack or the faint sound of chirping, but the eggs remained unnervingly silent. Their dark shells seemed to taunt his aspirations, and with each passing day, his uncertainty grew. Had he made a grave mistake by bringing these mysterious eggs into his home? What if they weren't from chickens at all? The fear that he might have unwittingly jeopardized the safety of his entire farm began to gnaw at him, slowly undermining his confidence. His daily routine had devolved into a ceaseless vigil, rising before dawn to check on the incubator's settings despite his mounting anxiety. Yet, he tried to console himself by believing that the eggs were a serendipitous gift rather than an omen of misfortune. After his early inspections, Raphael returned to his usual chores, feeding and watering his hens, cleaning the coops, and collecting the conventional brown and white eggs. The weight of maintaining a struggling farm bore down on him, and each task felt more laborious than the last, his constant worry over the mysterious eggs casting a long shadow over his day. One cold morning, Raphael awoke feeling particularly unwell. His head pounded and his body ached with fever. Despite his best efforts to push through the discomfort, it soon became clear that he was too debilitated to manage his daily responsibilities. The relentless anxiety and many sleepless nights had exacted a heavy toll, leaving him bedridden and incapable of tending to the farm. As days blurred into one another, Raphael lay in bed, his thoughts muddled by fever while the once lively farm began to show signs of neglect. Weeds proliferated unchecked, the chicken coops grew filthy, and the feed bins dwindled to near emptiness. With Raphael unable to work the land, the regular egg production suffered, and the nearby community began to take notice of the farm's rapid decline. Concerned neighbors whispered among themselves about the state of the once prosperous property. Among them was Carlos, Raphael's longtime friend and neighbor, who decided to pay a visit to see if his friend needed assistance. Upon arriving at the farmhouse, Carlos was struck by the obvious neglect and knew something was terribly amiss. Knocking on the door, Carlos soon found Raphael in a frail condition, barely capable of sitting up in bed. Recognizing the seriousness of the situation, Carlos immediately took charge. He assured Raphael that he would handle the farm's operations while his friend recovered, urging him to rest and regain his strength. Without hesitation, Carlos threw himself into the work. He fed the chickens, cleaned the coops, and ensured that all was well with the animals. He even rallied other neighbors to help keep the farm running during this difficult period. However, in his weakened state, Raphael had neglected to mention the existence of the enigmatic eggs in the incubator, a secret that was about to astonish Carlos and the others. One evening, as Carlos was finishing up his chores, he was startled by a faint peeping noise emanating from one of the chicken coops. His heart raced as he grabbed a flashlight and hurried inside. Following the increasingly louder sound, he soon reached the incubator and noticed a subtle movement within one of the dark eggs. Shocked and intrigued, he marveled at the sight, wondering how Raphael had come into possession of such extraordinary eggs. Rushing back to the farmhouse, Carlos informed his friend that the eggs were in the process of hatching. What on earth could be emerging from them, he wondered aloud. Raphael, still weak but with a spark of hope in his eyes, admitted that he wasn't sure of the outcome, but that he felt a glimmer of possibility that this might be the turning point he so desperately needed. In the quiet that followed, Raphael recounted to Carlos the entire saga, from the moment he first discovered the mysterious black eggs to the restless nights filled with trepidation that they might spell disaster for the farm. Gratitude shone in his eyes as he expressed his relief at having supportive friends by his side during such uncertain times. Whether the hatchlings would bring calamity or a miraculous boon, he was comforted by the thought that together they could handle whatever came their way. Just 2 days later, Raphael found himself well enough to rise from bed. He and Carlos knelt by the incubator, their faces mere inches from the slowly cracking eggs. At last, the first chick emerged. A collective sigh of relief filled the room as they confirmed that the hatchlings were indeed birds. That relief soon transformed into ecstatic wonder when they examined the chick's features. The tiny bird boasted glossy, jet-black feathers that shimmered subtly in the dim light, and its bright eyes blinked open as it emitted a triumphant little chirp. One after another, the remaining eggs began to break open. Each new chick was a marvel, sporting sleek, dark plumage and sparkling, inquisitive eyes. The entire hatching process was mesmerizing. The chicks struggled valiantly to free themselves from their shells, their determined efforts mirroring Raphael's own battle against adversity. In the excitement of the moment, Carlos fished his phone from his pocket and quickly searched online for clues. These might be Umbra chicks, he eventually declared, his voice catching with emotion. Raphael, furrowing his brow, confessed that he had no prior knowledge of what Umbra chicks might be. With a light chuckle, Carlos explained that these Indonesian fowls were exceptionally rare and prized for their all-black appearance, from their eyes and beaks to every feather on their bodies. Their eggs, he noted, fetched extraordinarily high prices, and enthusiasts would likely pay a premium just to witness the birds in person. Neither of them could fathom how these eggs had found their way onto Raphael's farm, yet Carlos was convinced that their emergence would solve all of Raphael's financial woes. Overcome by emotion, Raphael's eyes filled with tears which he no longer tried to hide. He had endured so many hardships and sacrificed much along the way, and now, before him, lay the promise of a brighter future. The sight of the rare Umbra chicks, so exquisitely unique and beautiful, brought a deep sense of relief and joy. He wept openly, his tears falling onto the straw-strewn floor as the reality set in. His farm, once on the brink of collapse, had been given a second chance through this miraculous event. The hatching of the ebony eggs signified the dawn of a new era for Raphael's farm. Word of the miraculous hatching spread rapidly throughout the community. Neighbors who had rallied around Raphael during his illness flocked to the farm to witness the incredible Umbra chicks. Their striking, all-black plumage and captivating appearance left everyone in awe, and the renewed hope that now shone in Raphael's eyes went far beyond mere financial recovery. It embodied the revival of a dream and a passion for farming that had nearly been lost. As he watched the newly hatched chicks wander about, pecking eagerly at the ground, Raphael experienced a fulfillment he hadn't felt in years. In the days that followed, Raphael devoted himself to caring for the Umbra chicks with painstaking attention. He constructed a dedicated enclosure fitted with heat lamps and fresh bedding, and meticulously recorded their growth, noting every change in their behavior and appearance. Their lustrous black feathers glistened under the sunlight, and their lively, inquisitive nature infused the farm with renewed energy. Yet it wasn't long before Raphael observed something even more remarkable about these birds. Their attributes went far beyond mere visual appeal. The chicks were exceptionally robust, thriving in conditions that would challenge other breeds. They grew at a faster rate than anticipated and exhibited a vitality that set them apart. Their feathers, already deep black, shone with an iridescent quality. When the sunlight hit them just right, hints of green and purple danced across their surfaces, as though imbued with a touch of magic. Raphael recorded these observations carefully, realizing that his Umbra brood was extraordinarily exceptional. Even among their rare breed, their superior quality and distinctiveness hinted at a potential gold mine. News of these extraordinary chicks soon caught the attention of people well beyond the local community. One bright afternoon, Raphael received an unexpected visit from a man introducing himself as Mr. Thompson, a wealthy investor with a keen interest in rare and exotic livestock. Mr. Thompson had heard whispers of Raphael's exceptional Umbra chicks and was eager to see them firsthand. Captivated from the moment he laid eyes on the chicks, Mr. Thompson marveled at their unique allure, remarking on their impressive health and vigor. With his eyes alight with interest, he turned to Raphael and said, "These chicks are truly extraordinary. I've never encountered anything quite like them." Pride swelled within Raphael as he explained that he had dedicated every resource to nurturing these remarkable birds. Mr. Thompson listened intently, nodding in thoughtful approval. "I see their immense potential," he observed. Not only could they be ideal for breeding, but they could also appeal to niche markets where rarity and beauty command a premium price. "I'd like to present you with an offer." Raphael's heart pounded as Mr. Thompson outlined his proposal. The investor was prepared to provide the financial backing necessary to expand and modernize the farm's operations in exchange for a share of the future profits generated from the Umbra chicks breeding and sales programs. The offer was generous, promising not only to secure Raphael's financial future but also to stabilize and revitalize the farm. After weighing his options, Raphael accepted the proposal with a firm handshake, feeling an immense burden lifted from his shoulders. The new partnership with Mr. Thompson signified that his cherished Umbra chicks would soon usher in a period of prosperity and acclaim for his farm. However, Raphael's journey was not yet complete. On a radiant afternoon, as he tended to his thriving flock, he noticed something unusual about one of the chicks. This particular bird was noticeably larger than its peers, and its feathers boasted an even more striking iridescent glow. Intrigued, Raphael examined the chick more closely.
Disclaimer: this channel does not support or tolerate any form of discrimination, racism, prejudice, or violation of human rights. The stories presented here are original and created by the author with the aim of promoting reflection, awareness, and dialogue. All content is developed with respect for diversity and the dignity of all people.